History has a strange way of humbling us. Just when we think we're the most advanced humans to ever walk the earth, the past taps us on the shoulder and
whispers, "Think again."
Ancient civilizations keep leaving behind clues that suggest they were far more capable, more visionary, and more connected to mystery than we ever gave them credit for. One of the most jaw-dropping of those clues rises from a dusty hill in Turkey. Its name is Göbekli Tepe, and it completely rewrote the story of civilization.
It's a project in southeastern Turkey at a site called Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe means the mound with valley.
For decades, Göbekli Tepe was just another bump on the landscape near Şanlıurfa in southeastern Turkey. Locals thought it was nothing but an old hill. Even early archaeologists in the 1960s dismissed it as just a medieval cemetery. The real breakthrough came in 1994, when German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt took a closer look. Unlike others, he noticed the scattered limestone blocks were not gravestones at all, but massive, carefully carved pillars. Digging deeper, Schmidt realized he was standing on something extraordinary. A monumental complex built around 9600 BCE, more than 11,000 years ago. That's 6,000 years older than Stonehenge, and 7,000 years before the pyramids. In one sweep of a trowel, Schmidt had pulled the rug out from under our neat timeline of human history. According to everything we thought we knew, people in 9600 BCE were still hunter-gatherers. They roamed, they hunted gazelles, they picked wild nuts and berries. They weren't supposed to have the time, tools, or social structure to build anything like Göbekli Tepe. And yet there it was, huge T-shaped limestone pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons, arranged in circular enclosures. To move these giants, you'd need teams of organized workers, shared planning, and months, if not years, of dedication. All without metal tools, wheels, or even domesticated animals to help drag the stones. The shock? These people somehow pulled it off. It's as if the blueprint for civilization, religion, cooperation, architecture, was being tested here thousands of years before we thought it existed. When you step into the imagination of Göbekli Tepe, you're entering a world that feels both alien and strangely familiar. These weren't just stones arranged in a circle. They were towering statements of meaning, symbols carved in limestone that spoke to people 11,000 years ago, messages that still confuse us today. Each circular enclosure was built around two central T-shaped pillars, much taller than the rest. Think of them like the spine of the entire design, monuments that dominated the view. Around them stood smaller pillars, almost like an audience surrounding two main performers. This layout alone suggests hierarchy, meaning, and ritual. It wasn't random. And then there are the carvings. Snakes slither along the stone, foxes leap in motion, vultures spread their wings, lions and boars stare back in frozen poses. Some stones even carry abstract symbols, dots, H-shapes, or strange signs that might have been an early code. For us, they're undecipherable, but for the builders, they were part of a story. The two central pillars are the most fascinating of all. Carved with human arms and hands, they suggest these weren't just blocks of stone. They were anthropomorphic figures, yet they're faceless, almost ghostly. Were they gods watching over ceremonies? Ancestors immortalized in stone, reminding the living of their presence? Or maybe abstract spirits, forces of life and death, fertility and danger. Scholars debate that the lack of faces is eerie. It's as if the people didn't dare to give them identity. Too sacred, too powerful. But what actually happened inside these circles? Archaeology has some ideas on what was going on up there. It might have been feasts and sacrifices. Bones of wild animals found at the site suggest large communal meals. Imagine hundreds of people gathered, offering meat to the gods before roasting it together under the watchful stone guardians. It's even possible that death rituals were occurring. Some believe vultures carved on the stones symbolize excarnation, the practice of leaving bodies for birds to consume, a way of releasing the soul to the sky. In that case, Göbekli Tepe may have been a portal between life and death. Maybe even shamanistic ceremonies. Shamans could have stood between the pillars, retelling myths, guiding trances, or invoking spirits with firelight flickering across the carvings. And the last theory being about astronomical gatherings. Some researchers think the layouts aligned with stars, constellations, or solstices, making it a kind of prehistoric observatory, as well as a temple. And here's the real kicker. For all this effort, quarrying, carving, dragging 20-ton stones, arranging them in perfect circles, there is no trace of ordinary living. No houses, no ovens, no daily mess of human settlement. That's why many call it a cathedral without walls. It wasn't about survival, it was about something higher: belief, myth, story, or even fear. People walked days, maybe weeks, just to stand here, to participate in rituals we can only guess at. Göbekli Tepe is mysterious, not just because of what's there, but because of what isn't. No written records, no artifacts that explain why. Only those silent stone giants, whispering across 11,000 years, daring us to imagine. For centuries, archaeologists believed farming came first, then towns, then temples. You grow crops, you settle down, you build a community, and eventually, you have time to invent religion. Göbekli Tepe turned that idea upside down. Here we see temples before farms. In fact, many experts now argue that the need to gather and perform rituals at places like Göbekli Tepe may have actually pushed people toward farming so they could feed the large crowds coming together. In other words, belief created agriculture, not the other way around. This flips the script on everything we thought we knew. Civilization, it seems, might have started not with bread, but with ideas, stories, and shared mysteries.